All right, a preempt gump report. Now, I did not do the Vince video yet. To be honest, I've been kind of putting it off a little bit. There's new information that's come in, and I am kind of a little worried about reading as much as I can of what's from the lawsuit, because some of it does get pretty graphic and gruesome, and I don't want to agitate my depression a bit or my anxiety, so I'm being a little cautious about it. But I will get to it. I will get to that report. But this one has to be done. It has to be done, and I want to make this clear. I have no information. I have no idea this could happen. This is my speculation. Remember, I'm speculating. There is no proof I'm right. But I have to state this because no one is stating it. Nobody wants to state it. It is just speculation that could happen. Now, what did we get on SmackDown? We got The Rock appearing in front of Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes stepping aside. Now, we still don't know if this is going to be done it's a good chance it will be done at WrestleMania. It will not be done at Elimination Chamber. This could happen at WrestleMania. They're going to have a press conference this Thursday coming. So it will probably be announced that that's going to happen at it's so hard to say it's a good chance it will happen at WrestleMania when Elimination Chamber is very close. It's very, very hard not to say it. But this is what my speculation is. Guys, right now we saw a live stream of Just Alex feeling so exonerated for finally getting what he wanted. Because originally, JD felt like they should not go with Roman and The Rock. It should be about Roman and Cody. And Just Alex, who actually, he says, I never wavered. He did. He did waver. He said it first in his own words, even in the stream on Friday, I wanted both nights for Roman and Rock and Roman and Cody. And instead of just sticking with that, he made it very clear, it's going to be Roman and it's going to be Rock. Forget about Cody. This story's boring. He literally said that in his own live stream where most, not all, but most of his fans were quite upset about what happened with Cody Rhodes. And by the end of the stream, he started just enjoying seeing them be angry. He was enjoying it. And he even said it with his own fellow wrestling podcasters that they're going to be ranting. I'm going to be enjoying it ear to ear, smiling. That's kind of gloating. And everyone has the right to gloat. He's no different. If I gloated, I gloated. But as someone who says in his catchphrase, welcome to Alex's world. This is a space, safe space for wrestling fans like you. That's not being a safe space. Now, mind you, I can understand why he did it because for the last month, he's been bothered. He's been, in his own belief, harassed, and which he was, to a certain extent, harassed. But I don't think he needed to get so gloaty. There's nothing wrong with making it clear. And if you've seen me over the years, when I have been right, and when everyone else has been wrong, I don't take the low road. I don't just go, I was right. Let them just be suffering. I don't do that. Sometimes it's better to take the high road than actually take the low road because it shows that you have a little more refinement, a little more class. And I'm not saying Alex doesn't have it. But when you're in that type of situation, you want a little bit of exoneration and a little bit of revenge. But when you make your show all about a safe space, it's contradicting yourself. But he had the right to do it. Do I agree with it? No. Not the part about gloating so much at the end of his stream and getting a little, kind of like a little rude, rubbing it into the wound. There's nothing wrong with just telling them, look, this is what happened. I called it. I called it for a month. And everyone was against me. Well, not exactly. Not everyone was against him. Not even the other podcasters were against him. They never called him by name. People who didn't agree with it, they told him they need to understand what's going on. Or they're stupid, yes, but they didn't say his name directly. They didn't. So they weren't talking about him directly, generally like him. That's just how I see it. But here's the thing. Taking away from the controversy when it came to JD or Just Alex, when JD was pissed and Just Alex was happy, and then Just Alex was pissed and JD was happy, we now have something that's going to happen with Rock and with a Roman Reigns. We do not know what's going to happen with Cody due to the fact we still don't know the situation with Seth Rollins. People were saying, oh, Seth will happen. And when it comes to JD, I have to mention these guys both because I have to explain what I'm talking about with Ari Emanuel. When it comes to JD and his understanding of how the story has gone, I understand it because it's not the point if it's one of the best stories or a story you like. It's a story that you've been making consistently about Cody Rhodes and his story about his father wanting to get the title that his father never got a chance to keep because he won it, but then it was I believe a DQ win, and he could not keep it. He held it for a few minutes or a few seconds, and then it got taken from him. And that has been on the mind of him, his father, before he passed. That's what the story is about. And it's not about if it's a good story like Just Alex said it's a boring story. It's not the point. It's what they built. And then there's Just Alex. What is the most money-grabbing? What is the most exciting? What is the most strongest story that they can do quickly that has some connection to Roman Reigns? And that is The Rock. Supposing he said it's been going on for 3 years about this situation with Rock. And he's not wrong. They have mentioned certain things like people wonder when Rock is going to deal with Roman. That's the deal. But this is what I believe JD and Alex are not seeing. As I said already, I've said this for more than a year since the controversy started when the allegations and the payoff from Vince McMahon. I said 100% Vince is gone. We do not know what's going to happen within the company. I said, and I wasn't 100% wrong, that at this point, we do not know who inside the company was for Vince and who was in for a Triple H. We didn't know who was on what side, and sooner or later there was going to be some type of controversy where both sides were going to butt heads, eventually causing problems for the company. Now, what happened? Vince came back, bullied his way in, got several people fired. Well, not fired, but resigned. His daughter resigned. 2 other board members resigned. He got in and then fired 2 other board members to bring in more people he wanted and sold the company to Ari Emanuel, his friend that probably was never a wrestling fan from the very beginning. We don't know if he ever was. I still don't know if Ari Emanuel was directly a wrestling fan. He said, I met Vince. I knew of his product. I met Vince. I became a fan of Vince. He didn't say a fan of the company. He said a fan of Vince and became his friend. That is what we got from Ari when he did that, if I remember that interview with Vince. That's what he said. He never said he was a fan of wrestling. He just said, I knew the product, I met Vince, and I became a fan of Vince because I realized he was a genius. He understood business, he understood the wrestling business on top of it. Now you still have a businessman who's owning a wrestling company like Ted Turner. Exactly the same. And I'm not going to tell you that this is not going to be a major issue, because it is. Because look what's going on. Whether you like the storyline that was Cody or not, that was the most consistent storyline they had created for this company. And they chose, instead of keeping with the fans and what they wanted, they're going about what can give them the most money. Now, I've heard it already. What are you talking about? They're going to sell at WrestleMania. No, this is not about WrestleMania. This is what JD and Alex don't understand. This is what I've been trying to explain to people for quite a while. And if anybody who sees this understands anything that I'm saying, share it with people. I know I don't have any X or Twitter. I just don't. I don't want to have that type of stress. But just connect them to here. Give them the web URL and tell them to look at this, because generally I could be right. Doesn't mean I am, but I could be. And let me explain it. What we have here is a situation where Ari Emanuel, not Triple H, not Bruce Pritchard, Ari Emanuel made the call. Look, we know Rock is now a member of the board of directors. We now know that Ava, his daughter, was working on NXT, and she still is, and instead of her just being an errand girl to a HBK, she is now the general manager. Why? Why did she get turned into general manager? Why? Because, and it's a good possibility, it's due to The Rock joining TKO Group Holdings. There's no way that this wasn't going to happen, because he's now doing that. His daughter has to be given something. She may not be a very, very great talker. She may not be very good in the ring. But damn it all, if she's going to be in the company, she deserves to be in a position that is representative of, guess who? Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So she's now the general manager of NXT, where eventually, if I'm right, we are going to see Nick Aldis leave his position, become a regular wrestler, and guess who they will call up to take his place? It probably will be Ava. They'll let her be where she is. Eventually, when Nick Aldis reaches a point where they believe he's ready to become a regular wrestler, he will become one, and they will call Ava up from NXT, because this will be giving her a chance to develop herself, counting if she doesn't still have the same look, the same way of talking, the same attitude, because the way she is now, she's very underdeveloped. As I said in my NXT review, she's very underdeveloped. She still feels like an errand girl. She's still dressing the same as an errand girl. She's not dressing like a real professional woman. Like when Stephanie was running Raw. When, like, April, we're not going to see a AJ Lee back. But when she did it, she transitioned from being a wrestler to a professional and got dressed and had the part of an attitude of a professional. I don't see that from Ava yet, but it is still very early days. That's the reason why she's there. She may not be great in the ring, or maybe she can't go in the ring anymore, and she may not be great in the mic, but they're going to make her work on being a general manager. But this is where it comes down to. As you see from the title, will Ari Emanuel give Rock the title, or the undisputed WWE title? There's a good chance, yes. And I know that Jess Alex, if he was in front of me, or JD say, "Oh, you fucking stupid," they wouldn't go there. They could. You know why? This is what it comes down to. We are not running a company that's run by Vincent K. McMahon. We are not running a company that's not run by Bruce Pritchard. We're not running a company that is taken care of Triple H. It's Ari Emanuel. TKO Group Holdings owns WWE, and that is TKO WWE, like it's TKO UFC. That's the deal. And whatever Ari wants, they got to make it work. Just like it was before when Vince did not show up on Raw or SmackDown and NXT. He called Triple H and said, "I want this." Click. That's it. And Triple H or HBK, when he's booking his own show at NXT, he had to be told what Vince wanted, and then he had to try and make his company work. That is all of his creative team. That's where it comes down to. Each one of these brands has a company of writers, of people who basically are trainers, and also basically anyone they need to make the roster work. Those to work with their promos, those to work with their ring attire, those who work with their ring work. They got an entire crew of people to do it. And that's what HBK and Triple H has to deal with. But still, no matter what, they may tell them what to do, but it was Vince that told them what they had to do. No matter if they liked it or not. Because if you remember, when we had the draft, you saw HBK legitimately upset because this was not a work. That was a shoot. When he was with Road Dogg and he read this, if you remember, that was a legitimate shoot because he probably wasn't told anything. He wasn't told about the people they're going to take because he had storylines already written for all the people in his brand. At the time, it wasn't considered a brand yet because Vince didn't want to consider it a brand. Now they do. But you get my point. Right now, you got Ari Emanuel that had given an order that since Rock is now working for the company, He is now a member of the board of directors. No matter if he still does movies or not, or commercials or not, he's a member, an active member of the board. He probably went to Ari, or Ari went to him, or they both came together and said, Vince is a mess. We have no idea, and this is what it comes to Vince. We still don't know who could be implicated. Remember, it is already coming out that the federal government is sending an investigative team to again look at what's going on with these allegations, and again to look at all the evidence that they had collected, trying to find out how far this possible sex scandal, sex trafficking. I haven't seen the entire information from the lawsuit yet. It's just going with what they stated. But everything that has now come out from this lawsuit, the federal government's checking. John Laurinaitis trying to blame Vince. It doesn't matter if he is innocent or not. He looks bad. The Bellas already gave an announcement. They cannot condone this. I have no idea what the Bella's mom thinks at this moment. Whether he's innocent or not, it doesn't matter. It has caused a huge rift in the family, whether he is telling the truth. Let's say he is telling the truth. I'm not saying he is. If John Laurinaitis was basically forced to do whatever Vince wants, it don't make a difference. It looks bad on him, particularly he's been implicated. We still don't know when they're going to call up Brock Lesnar, and we already know that in Royal Rumble, he was supposed to be there, but because of these allegations, he was slated, and then he was dropped. Ended. No more Brock. And we don't know if they're going to call him up next through that lawsuit, because he could be sued as well, along with John Laurinaitis. They will be brought in if they're involved in this sex or sex trafficking, or how horrid they did what they did. They could be brought in. So one of the two, Ari or Rock, said, we need to do something. And they said, well, let's do The Rock and let's do Roman. That's what they decided to do. Now, Elimination Chamber could be when The Rock and Roman happens, or at WrestleMania could happen. But that's not the point. What happens afterward, what no one's talking about. Because if they really wanted to have, and this is where it comes down to where it divides for me. If they're doing what's necessary for the fans, The Rock will put over Roman. Doesn't matter what happens with Cody, because they're not thinking about Cody. They're thinking about what makes the company look good. The Rock is one of the most popular stars there is. He makes millions of dollars, nearly $1 billion at this point, and he is so popular, he could counteract what's going on with Vince. That's the reason why they're doing it now. Whether Rock wanted this, or Ari wanted it, or both of them, they're going with it now. But the question is now, are they going to keep this situation going? Because as much as just Alex and JD just don't get it, Ari is a businessman and he doesn't give a fuck about what the fans want. As long as it's within what he wants, he doesn't care. He'll give them whatever they want. But whatever will make the most money is what he's going to demand Triple H and the entire team in NXT, when it comes to Raw, SmackDown, all the people in the back, all the trainers, all the writers, everyone must do what Ari says because they're under his pay. So what it comes down to, if they really want to make as much buzz as possible, with as much money as possible, particularly not only going to Australia, but going into the Middle East, they're going to have Rock win the title. They're going to have Rock have the moniker of the head of the table, and then you're going to have Roman try and pursue him to get it back, to get that moniker back, to get the title back, because that will give the most amount of press, the most amount of money, because Rock merchandise will go through the roof if he wins. If Rock loses, they'll get a good bump in number of merchandise. They'll get a good bump in ratings. They'll get a good bump in PLEs. But they will get a huge bump if Rock wins. They will get a huge bump because everyone will be seeing Rock on TV, counting on the amount he'll be seen. But it's not the point. Rock winning will be all that matter. And The Rock could win, hold the title from WrestleMania to SummerSlam, and drop it. And that will give them a huge boost. Depending on as long as he's not doing movies, or if he has to do a lot of board of director work. It will be about Rock winning the damn WWE Universal Championship. That would be how this would be if this was all about Ari's decisions. Now, if it isn't, Rock will job to Roman Reigns. It will give a good bump at WrestleMania. No matter how profitable it is, it will be a good bump. This is what just Alex and JD or anyone else doesn't see. This is not about WrestleMania. This isn't. This is about what Ari sees. And what Ari sees is how much I can make more than what Vince did. How can I go beyond WrestleMania, make the next PLE bigger, like SummerSlam? How can I make it even more greater and keep growing much more than him? That is with The Rock staying and The Rock winning. And I'm saying it now. If this does come to pass, either at Elimination Chamber or at WrestleMania, my guess it might be WrestleMania, I'm telling you right now, just Alex is going to get angry, or he'll say, oh, I understand it. But this is where his entire thing about, oh, Cody will get his time. Cody's time is at WrestleMania. They booked it for WrestleMania. If he hadn't gotten hurt, he would have had it earlier than this, but it didn't happen. That's what this comes down to, why he doesn't want to hear it. He's hearing, oh, this has got to be about The Rock. You always get it. No, it's different. He doesn't want to hear that the way the booking went, if they went by booking that is consistent, whether it's boring or not, the consistent booking is more important than just a flash of huge amount of press, huge amount of money, huge amount of power. That's what the fans want. They want consistent booking of people they like or love. If it was The Rock who was in this position, Cody, everyone would be angry that The Rock is not getting his moment if The Rock was still wrestling. And if it was booked for it to go to WrestleMania, not SummerSlam, not Survivor Series, not Elimination Chamber, anything in between, if it was booked and looked obviously for WrestleMania and it's taken away, everyone's angry. Saying that it can happen at any other time is not the same as what it was booked and consistently booked, whether it's born or not. That's the deal. And he doesn't want to hear that. But then when you look at JD, I understand this point, but this is a company, even he mentions in his video when it was SmackDown, that he understood about it being about Ari wanting the most out of it. But he still made it very clear how important it was to be consistent. But we're in a company that is not WWE. TKO/WWE. That is what we got. And no matter how much JD keeps thinking that things are better without Vince, you have no idea how Ari Emanuel wants to book. And if everybody said, dude, Ari's not going to book, it's going to be Triple H. No! Triple H would do the day-to-day operation for creative. Does not mean that when Ari says, I want something, Triple H says, no, you can't do that. Ari says, I want Sami Zayn to hold every title in the company, men and women. If Triple H says, we can't do that, he's going to say, do you want to keep your job? And then he's going to say, okay, when it's got to be done. That's the deal. That is the total deal. And whether anybody wants to hear it, it's always going to be about Ari, just like it was always about Vince and always about Ted Turner. Remember, Ted Turner did make several influences on WCW, but also Ted Turner did not control WCW correctly. He let a businessman who knew nothing of the business, and that's Eric Bischoff, learn to run it, which he did, but didn't do it great. Interjected stuff that he thought that could help Turner Broadcasting or Turner itself, which didn't really help much. And then when the AOL deal went through, he almost became bankrupt because of it. That's what happens. A businessman who's not a wrestling promoter from the beginning will not see what's good for the fans and will not understand what will be done. He will only see this as money. And how do you maximize it? How do you make it more? Look at the Carters and look at TNA. What happened with Dixie Carter? Tell me 100% when you see the time when it was Jeff Jarrett and his dad running it, the only problem they had was they couldn't make enough money. They brought in Dixie and her family. What did she do? She did not run it correctly. It was a disaster. It was worse than Jeff Jarrett and his father ran it. It was 10 times worse until Anthem took it over. And Anthem made the decision, And everyone always said it's $1 billion company. $1 billion company doesn't give the company that is their satellite company $1 billion. It's got to be their own budget. It's on them. They give a certain percent. They give a certain percentage to help run it. Does not mean they give them anything they want. They will only give what they want when they want. They made the decision to let TNA be run by certain people. Scott D'Amore is one of them. That's the difference. TNA has been owned by these certain people that understood, don't be stupid enough to interfere. Just leave it and put the right people that we can find, the right type of wrestling people in that position to get it done. And for what I understand, most, not everyone, but most of the people that was at TNA that caused a lot of trouble are gone. And I'm sure someone's going to say, there's nobody left. There's always someone left from that time. There's still a few people that got to be left from that time that, when it comes down to it, the most troublemakers are gone. But the ones that are either questionable or yes men and women stayed. And there's still probably yes men and women in TNA. And some that were questionable but knew when they had to shut up and do what they had to do, they swung right back. That is how any business is. There's always one or a couple of them. This is what we got in WWE right now. We're going to have Ari tell Triple H and anyone else what he wants. And here's the thing. We still don't know if this is even going to help the company because, as I said over and over again, this company is in flux. This company is not even a year old. And I'm not talking about WWE. I'm talking about TKO Group Holdings that owns UFC and WWE and Endeavor. It owns all three of them. Do you actually believe there's going to be a problem? There's going to be a problem in TKO WWE. I'm sure there might be more people implicated if they're not already out of the company. There's going to be a few people in there. We don't even know if Michael P.S. Hayes may have had a problem. What happened if he had a problem, Michael P.S. Hayes? What happened if Bruce Pritchard had a problem? I believe Michael P.S. Hayes is still there. Bruce Pritchard is there. What would happen? And I'm not saying any of that is true about Michael P.S. Hayes or Bruce Pritchard. But what would happen if all three of them two of them, and one other was implicated along with Vince? Let's say it was Triple H. Let's say that Triple H had some handling in it. Let's say Triple H had to stand back and watch what was going on. And he was told during the time when he wasn't sick and when he came back, I want this, do this. Okay, he could be implicated in that too. What happened if Triple H is implicated along with Bruce Pritchard and P.S. Hayes and anyone else that is a senior member of WWE that is there, that's still in the company? Before they get fired by Ari Emanuel, it will come out in the news. How much more damage will be done? And particularly, let's say that Triple H is somehow connected to this. He may have not fucked a woman or shitted on her or pissed on a woman or women, because we don't know how far this stretches, because they're asking for anyone. Please come forward so we can have more information. But what happened if Triple H was involved in this? What happened if Stephanie was involved in this? Because remember, Stephanie left right when Vince came back. She was done. What happened if she knew? What happened if she knew? What happened if Triple H knew? What happened if anyone that was seen? What happened if Michael Cole knew something or did something? What happened if he did? Tell me, how is that going to affect the company? It'll fuck it up. And no one knows how far this stretches. I'm hoping none of the people I mentioned, no matter if you like P.S. Hayes or Bruce Pritchard or Triple H or Michael Cole, it doesn't matter. I'm hoping none of them had a problem. I'm hoping that it's only with possibly John Laurinaitis, Brock Lesnar, and Vince, and that's it. Or Kevin Dunn. Maybe Kevin Dunn may be implicated too. But if it's just for those three, I will be happy, and the company hopefully will be able to make something out of this. Make a mess, clean up the mess. But if I'm right, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. And if I'm not, share this video. Peace.